All right, what's good, people? Welcome back. This is about to be part four of the Great Awakening map. And as you can see by the title, I have a lot of explaining to do. But I'm cool with it because I want to make a point that I haven't seen been made yet. And instead of just telling you that point, I want you to understand exactly how I feel. And I like to explain how I feel because I'm not a scholar, and most of, like 95% of the world, we're not scholars. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to get a common sense point of view, or either a universal point of view. Just by using your common sense, you can look at the world and figure out how things are going. You don't have to speak 6 or 7 different languages. You don't have to have a PhD, a bachelor, or a master's. All you got to do is look at shit and figure out how it fits into what you've been told and what you actually see. And what I want to talk about today is the Annunaki and chemtrails. And I want to show you how they relate. And rather than just showing you how they relate, let me go to this Great Awakening map, because as you can see, the Great Awakening map, they have the Annunaki right here, which means, and it's a couple of different translations of the word Annunaki, but the one up here says those from heaven to come to earth. Those from heaven to earth come. All right, now that's one interpretation. I also heard those from Saturn who came to earth, and I'm going to show you why I understand why that's being said. But I also want to talk about chemtrails. As you can see, it's a small part, but it's up here though, and to me, I like to talk about chemtrails because it's something that's happening right in front of your face and people don't have knowledge of it. People rarely talk about it. They don't talk about it in the news, but it's been happening since like 1957. It's even been used in war, and the weatherman, he skipped right over that. And people can go outside and look right in the sky and see what's going on and not know that man has the ability to control the weather. And if they can't grasp their mind around that, there's no way on earth they're going to be able to touch anything in this QAnon bubble. They're not going to be able to understand why the media doesn't want you to talk about that. But without wasting too much time, I want to get into the Annunaki. So I'm going to pull up just a couple of... Now, look at this. The Annunaki, I don't know what this is, but to me it's like a watch, and to be clear about Annunaki, they're all over the world. It's all different cultures. You can hear talking about the Annunaki in different, I guess I wouldn't even like to call them religious. I would like to say spiritual texts or ancient texts. You hear about them everywhere. You see them everywhere. And all of them are carrying this bag, and most of them have this watch on, as you can see right here and right here. And a lot of them are affiliated with Atlantis. These and look at the detailing in this carving. And this right here is my boy Tho. I love his teachings or whatever. If you like, I mentioned several times the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, very deep. They got an audio book version. You can go to, I think it's called Ancient Astronauts on YouTube. You can go to them. They got like a 2.5 hour audio book version, and they, it's not really broke down. They just read it out to you. If you want a breakdown of it, you can get Billy Carson's compendium of the Emerald Tablets, where he compares, kind of like I do with my videos, and he breaks it down in a scientific form, unlike me who use a common sense approach. Okay, with that being said, let me go a little further, because people who consider themselves as Christians, you go and ask them if they heard the Annunaki, they'll look at you like you're nuts, and it's all over the Bible. And let me scroll down a little bit so you can see these verses, and I'm gonna come back to some of them later. But this right here that I'm holding, I'm gonna do my little Donald Trump style right here. This book that I'm holding right here is the 1611 version of the King James Bible. This is one of the earliest copies, you know what I'm saying? And I'm aware that the Nicene Council happened in 325, but the reason why I got the 1611 version, because it's the closest I can get without actually having to go to the Sumerian tablets, which I'm going to mention later. Because not only can you find the Anunnaki in the Bible and the Quran, you can find them in what are called the Sumerian tablets, the Sumerian cuneiform tablets. And if you, let me see if I can pull this up. Okay. If you go to the Oxford Library, of anthropology, you can look at the cuneiform tablets, and you can actually pick which tablet you want, because they found over 100,000 tablets, and I want to say it's called the Ashler Vinopal. I can't pronounce that word right. It's it was a library by this king way back in the day. You know, he found these tablets and he was just amazed by them. So he stored them. He kept them because they couldn't translate them then, but they kept these tablets because he knew they were very important. And like Billy Carson said, there's no way that these people sat around and just decided to make up myths on over 100,000 clay tablets, and right now only like either 20,000 or either 20% has been translated. But you can actually go to the library here, this digital library, and you can pull up these cuneiform tablets, and they have most of the ones that have been translated. You can click download translation, and they'll download a translation for you. And if you're not familiar with it, if you ever heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh, that was part of the cuneiform. And I want to give more credence to these this Annunaki by going to the Sumerians. Now, the Sumerians are also mentioned in the Bible. They're mentioned in the New Testament, and they're mentioned in the Old Testament. And if that's not, you know, good enough for you, we use everything that our basic way of thinking comes from them, like our the base 6 system. How we keep time, how we do measurements, that all comes from the Sumerians. And who do the Sumerians say they got it from? They say they got it from the Annunaki. And I'm going to get into this base 6 system for a minute, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's important also, you know. And it's like, now with this base 6 system, I'm going to use some of my common sense. If I was an intelligent being and I wanted to teach something less intelligent how to count and how to keep up with things, I'm going to use my digits to show them, you know, how to count. Because it's hard to explain what a number is if you don't see it. You know what I'm saying? So this is before we started counting, we had to see what 1 was, what 2 was. And you have to ask yourself, why do we buy things in dozens? A dozen eggs, you know what I'm saying? A dozen donuts. Why do we do that? Because we have 10 digits. So if we're going to teach someone how to count, we're going to stop at 10 like we do now with the decimal system. And I'm going to go back to that later, you know what I'm saying? But the reason why I feel like they use the base 6 system is because the Anunnakis are reported to have 6 fingers. Like most giants that were reported back in the day, they say they had 2 rows of teeth, 6 fingers. You know, if you read about the Nephilim, that's what they say. You know, and I know people like, that's, you know, real far-fetched, bro. That doesn't make sense. But let me show you how it's still in our genetic code. I'm gonna show you this family right now that has 6 fingers. Like almost like 80% of their family has 6 fingers. I'm gonna show you this quick clip. It's only about 3 minutes. Let me start right here. Make the screen a little bigger. If you can't hear the sound, don't worry about it. It's not that important.
Meet the De Silva family. At a critical moment when their hands were first sculpted, they got more than the rest of us. Instead of 5 digits on each hand, they have 6. In fact, out of 26 members of the family, 14 have 1 extra finger on each hand.
Okay, I don't need to show that whole video clip. I just want you to get the point. Out of 26 members of their family, 14 of them have 6 fingers on each hand. Now, that's not a defect. That means it's in their genetic. And that's in their genetics. Now, I want to make a little bit more sense out of the whole 6 system. If I have it up here. Okay. You ever wonder why we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day? 2 + 4 = 6. If someone says they're going to put a hex on you, it's a hexagon. It has 6 sides. You know what I'm saying? And like I said earlier, some people believe that the Anunnaki came from Saturn. Let me show you why they believe that. Now, I don't personally believe that because Saturn is made of the same thing that our sun is made of. You know what I mean? So I don't know how they could have lived on it. But I think Saturn was once a sun itself. And maybe the planet Nibiru rotated around Saturn. Because Saturn, it's enough to fit like 100 Earths on Saturn. You know what I mean? And they say Nibiru, you know, they live to be thousands of years old. So that means it rotated around a giant sun, you know. But let me show you why I believe there's some significance to that. So look at Saturn right here. Right here on the top of Saturn, and it's still there now, is a 6-sided hurricane. And it has this perfect little circle in the middle. But it's a 6-sided hurricane. How? How in the hell is this hurricane, you know, perfectly 6-sided? There's no way to explain that. We can't understand that. But and you know, there's no way that those people could have known that back then unless someone told them. And let me tell you something else that's real funny. Saturn is also known as Chronos, or Father Time. And these people used to worship Saturn. And that's why I believe time is really the mark of the beast, because it's the only thing that really captures you. Everybody is afraid they're not going to be on time. You don't have that much time left. Time is relative. You know what I'm saying? Time is very important to us here on Earth. It's more important than gravity almost, because everybody in the nick of time, you only have a little bit of time left. Everybody's worried about time. And that's where, you know, we get our time system from, you know. But that's the only way I feel like, you know, it has to have something to do with Saturn. There's no way that could be just a coincidence. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. What I want to do is I want to tell you why they came here. Because in order for me to make the whole chemtrail make sense to Saturn, I have to show you or tell you why the Anunnaki came here. Now, it's said that the Anunnaki came here to mine the earth for minerals. And while they were here, they had this working class group called the Ajiji that was supposed to mine the minerals for them. The main mineral they were mining was gold. Now, what were they going to do with this gold? What they were going to do is take it back to their planet Nibiru and spread in the atmosphere to protect this, you know, the surface from radiation. And if you don't believe that, go to NASA and look at any of NASA's suits. Look at their equipment. It's made of gold. You know what I'm saying? Because they know gold reflects all of it, and it's one of the best conductors of electricity. Now, these people, how did these ancient Sumerians make this story up? They didn't. The Annunaki told them. That's why I believe it's true. And to go a bit further with that, when you read the Holy Bible, when we were made in the Garden of Eden, where were we made at? Where the gold was, and the gallium, and the onyx stone. How did these ancient people even know about onyx stone? What were they doing with it? You know what I'm saying? What did they do with gallium? Because gallium is used to make heat. It makes fire. You know what I'm saying? And the people make perfumes and stuff out of it. But what were they going to do with it? You know, these supposed to be primitive people. What were they going to do with gold? How were they going to mine this gold? You know, did they even know what a shovel was? No, but the Anunnaki did, and the Anunnaki gave them tools, and they gave them knowledge to learn how to mine these and melt this down. And people, you know, if you read the Bible, you know, not to go off on a tangent, but if you read the Bible and you go back to Moses and you listen to what Moses was talking about, the manna from heaven, scientists have did reports about this so-called manna from heaven, this white substance that was found on the ground. People believe that it's monotonic gold. And if you increase the frequency of monotonic gold, it's known to disappear, to go into a different dimension. Now, that's a whole nother story for another time, so I'm not even going to get into that because there would be too much breaking down to do. But I want to go ahead and make my point in this quick video. Now, if you go to the current day and you look at these chemtrails, which I'm going to try to do right now. Now, you go to current day time. And I like to, I'm like, if you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Alan Watts, he said, write yourself 2 lists. Write a list of all the things you were told to be true because you read them or somebody said it. And then write a list of all the things you know to be true because you experienced them. And you'll realize real quick you haven't experienced much. We were always taught and told things. So what I do is I go and I look at it for myself. You know what I'm saying? And this is what they're doing, what I feel like they're doing with these chemtrails. This is what I feel like they're doing with these chemtrails. I feel like because they always spray whatever in whichever direction the sun is, and this is film that I actually recorded myself with a 4K cam. And I'm not gonna go through all of the film, but I just want to show you this is something that I've been tracking for like maybe the last 6 years, just to get an understanding. Because when I first saw it, I was like, well, you know, what are the chances of these planes on the same day, you know, making this X pattern, and then this X turns into a grid, and this so-called condensation, because I know YouTube is gonna put this little marker underneath my video saying that the Annunaki is a myth, chemtrails are a myth. Yeah, but you know it's a conspiracy. But it's, look, what I have right here, put my Donald Trump again. What I have right here is a 1965 copy of the encyclopedia, and this is the WXYZ section. If you open this book and read this book, it's going to tell you about cloud seeding and weather modification from 1965. If you look up, what's my man name? He was the vice president and then later president after Kennedy was assassinated. Lyndon B. Johnson. You look up Lyndon B. Johnson with the speech he gave at Oxford University during graduation. He literally said, you know, he was telling them about, he was excited as hell too. He was telling them about the future and how they were going to be able to control the weather. And his exact words were, it's about clouds and cloud layers. And he who controls the weather controls the world. He wasn't just saying it because it sounded good. They've been working on it. And if you also go to Operation Popeye, you know, that was something that happened during the Vietnam War. You can also see that this is what they were doing. You know what I mean? This is what they were doing. They used cloud seeding to pretty much flood out the Ho Chi Minh Trail, because that was the Vietnamese main way, you know, their main route of transportation to getting their weapons back and forth across. You know what I'm saying? So they used that to flood it out. I mean, it's a fact. You know what I mean? And also, if you look at Monsanto's, they have something to do with it. And then you go a little bit further and you look at Weather Modification Incorporated, you will see an article in Bloomberg about these brothers called I think it's called the Sweeney brothers. They actually make $20 million a year from doing weather modification. But yet and still, if you go and tell someone that, they look at you like they're nuts, like you're nuts, because they haven't been told this by the mainstream media. And people don't believe anything unless it comes from the mainstream media, who is here to control you and control the narrative. But people are going to wake up real soon. That's why I like talking about the Great Awakening map. But, you know, to go a little bit further, let me tell you someone who has, this is why, you know, like people say, okay, Chance, that's my name, by the way. People like Chance, if they're gonna if they're using weather modification to block out the sun so we won't you know, face global warming, what is the problem with that? Let me show you if I can find the article. Let me show you. Okay, let me get rid of some of these pop-ups. Now this is an article. Let me show you who's involved with this. Once again, the person involved with the weather modification and blocking out the sun is none other than Bill Gates. Anything that Bill Gates is involved with, it has something to do with population control. You know what I'm saying? Or decreasing the population. Point blank period. He said it a million times. His wife, Melinda Gates, she said it a million times. But let me show you this article back in 2019. All right, let me read this to you. Fires burning across the Amazon rainforest have renewed the debate about solutions to climate change. Now, the Amazon rainforest is the lungs of the world, and it's been on fire for a while. And people are crying, and people in the Amazon forest even said that people have set these fires, but that's another story for another time. Okay, let me get back to this. Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical approach called solar engineering. It's meant to mimic the effects of a giant volcanic eruption. Thousands of planes will fly at high altitudes, spraying millions of tons of particles around the planet to create a massive chemical cloud that will cool the surface. Sounds, makes sense so far, right? But let me go ahead. Modeling studies have found that it could reduce the intensity of heat waves. For instance, apparently it could reduce the rate of sea level rise. It could reduce the intensity of tropical storms, said Andy Parker, project director at the Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative. Now, it sounds like it makes sense, but let me go further, because like I said, anything Bill Gates has something to do with is population control. Okay, the technology is not far from being ready, and it's affordable. Affordable to who? Affordable to who? But it could cause massive change in regional weather patterns and eradicate blue skies. Now, here come the darkness. This consequence might be horrific. They might involve things like mass famine, mass flooding, droughts of kinds that will affect very large populations. Okay, who lives in very large populations? The 99%. That's us. We are the ones that's going to be affected by whatever they're doing, by whatever they're spraying in the sky. And they try to say it's just dry ice, but when you look up the ingredients, it's not. It's way more to it than that. And there's plenty of people out there who have done videos on this subject. And it's, it's a shame that we can't even look into the encyclopedia and read what is right in front of our face. And to go back to the Annunaki, people who call themselves Christians, they will laugh at you and scoff at you if you talk about giants, and it's right there in the Bible, and they say this is what they believed in. This is what they say is going to send them to the heavens or whatever. But they don't even believe what's written right in front of their face. And even right now, Netflix, who I don't rock with anymore, has a documentary called Connected. And in this documentary, they do an episode on cloud seeding. Now, this is the elbow, like I always call the elbow, because you might see the fist, but you might get hit by the elbow. This is how they do. They did this little rinky-dink ass company that was spraying chemtrails, and they did a real little light mist. And we're like, yeah, this is what we do. This is how we do it. But it's nothing compared to the photos I showed you earlier. And it's nothing compared to the way they block out the blue skies that we see every day, especially down here in the South where I live. In other places, they don't even really have to worry about it that much because they use the big industries, all the smog, especially in California, all the smog, it blocks it out for them. But we really have to open our eyes to what's been going on in front of our faces, because we are at a crucial time. And time is running out if you're not aware of what's going on in front of your face. But if you're aware, you got all the time in the world. But a lot of people are going to be shocked when they wake up and realize what's been going on. But that's all I had to say. Want to do a little quick video, and I will be going more in depth. I really don't have a lot of time to build like I used to, you know what I'm saying, because I'm a father, 5 children. I have to take care of my family. I don't have a lot of time to dig, to dive real deep into these subjects. But I'm going to come back. I'm going to take my time, but it's going to take a little while longer. I can't do it, once a week. It might be once every 2 weeks. But I'm going to go back into this Great Awakening map and then start exploring more of the subjects that we see on this Great Awakening map, because I think it's time, people. And with that being said, I'm out.